Hi, welcome to Jet Radio. I'm Ted Shire, your host, and with us today is Tim O'Neill. Welcome, Tim.
Hey, Ted. Good to be here. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah. Hey, Tim is the Wellness Director at Meredith Corporation, and really excited that he can be here. They've got awesome results with their participation rates, and we can learn a lot from them and how workplace wellness impacts sustainability. So, Tim, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got to Meredith and all that?
Sure, I'd be glad to, Ted. Thanks for having me on the show today. It's great. I'm an Iowa guy. I've been in Iowa my whole life. I grew up in eastern Iowa, and I went to Central College in Pella and majored in health promotion, exercise science. I found that anything that has to do with well-being in the body was really of interest to me personally, and it was easy to learn because I thought it was really interesting. So I got my degree from Central. I did personal training kind of the last half of my senior year in college and right after college for about a year and a half. And Pioneer Hybrid in Johnston was actually building an on-site fitness center for employees back in 2004. And that's when I really got into corporate wellness. I managed the on-site fitness center for Pioneer for 4 years and got good experience leading some of their wellness programs for their sites in the U.S. and Canada. And Meredith in 2007 was really starting to want to get into corporate wellness. Steve Lacy, our chairman and CEO, really wanted wellness to be part of his legacy at Meredith Corporation. And I had known Steve before I came to Meredith, and he was just asking me a little bit more about the type of person that, the skills and things that they would need to have to lead that program. And so Steve asked if I would be able to help them in their search, and I was able to actually get a job opportunity with Meredith. They asked if I would be interested in building that program from the ground up. I had gone back to school and got my MBA, and so really was poised to lead a corporate wellness program and understand the business impact of health and well-being. So very important, for me to be able to make a difference and to help Mr. Lacy live out part of his legacy as chairman and CEO and promote health and well-being. It's a true honor to be there, and I've been there for 8 years now.
That's excellent. So now that from the ground up, that's huge. Tell us why that's important.
It's very important that you start with good leadership support. I think that's really the foundation for any successful corporate wellness initiative, and that's one of the things that attracted me to the opportunity at Meredith. Was the chairman and CEO of the company said, I want this to be part of my legacy. It's my goal to help employees and their families live longer, happier, healthier lives, leading to an enjoyable retirement. And he was willing to stand behind that, but he really wanted someone to lead the direction of the program. And for me, it was described to me as a ball of clay, and I could have made that into really anything that I saw fit that would benefit the health and well-being of employees. So I knew the leadership cared. I knew they were going to stand behind me and what I did. They trusted that I knew what I was doing. And so I was in a good position to be successful from day one. So I think that's why it's really important to build from the ground up because, you can really create what you need to based on the needs of the organization.
Yeah. That's excellent. But tell us about WELCOA's benchmarks and how that model is ground up.
Yeah, you bet. So Wellness Council of America, WELCOA, uses 7 benchmarks for success, and that's really part of what we followed when we were at Meredith Corporation and really trying to build our program from the ground up. I think the foundation is good leadership support, and that's, what I saw from Mr. Lacy from day one. It's important to understand kind of the needs, of your organization, and based upon those needs and assessing those needs, making sure that you involve the right people. One of the things that I did from day one at Meredith was we formed wellness committees at every meaningful location throughout the country. Meredith is headquartered here in Des Moines, Iowa, but we have 25 locations all throughout the country. And so for us to be able to have wellness champions at every location, it really helps a lot. I think one thing that's really important, Ted, is that you don't do wellness at people, but you do wellness with people and for people. And so for me, my first summer at Meredith Corporation, I went to every single location as Mr. Lacy did his all-employee meeting tour. I really took the time to introduce myself to employees, talk about really the vision behind the program and our strategy, and kind of some of the things that we had wanted to work toward. And I really listened to see what the needs and interests of the employees were at each and every location. So that really helped me craft my strategy. So I think getting input, crafting the right operating plan, doing all that legwork before you just start trying random campaigns is very important. The sixth benchmark from WELCOA is having the right programs and policies in place to be able to support your strategy, and finally being able to assess the results. And so for me, starting with leadership support, forming our wellness committees, collecting the data, crafting an operating plan, launching the appropriate interventions, having the policies to support our program, and then being able to evaluate the impact. Those are the 7 benchmarks. And for us, that really was the foundation for our success.
Yeah. So now, did those supported policies have to be synthesized as you went, or was that something that you drew from another source?
It was a little bit of both, actually. At Meredith, I think we had really good safety and health-oriented policies already in place. We had a safe place to work. We had a good environment to promote healthy living, but there were certain policies that we adopted as we went. For example, in 2008, we became an entirely tobacco-free workplace. So we worked with the American Lung Association and other organizations here in Des Moines as we kind of looked at what our policy was going to be to support that initiative. We enhanced our wellness reimbursement program in 2010, so that way employees could now be reimbursed for things beyond just health club memberships, to include personal training or group exercise or working with a dietitian, or even things like completing road races or triathlons. We even have a program, Ted, that reimburses employees for purchasing things like tennis shoes or fitness clothing or getting a massage. So certainly, having the right policies to support your program and having the right programs in place, then in turn to support the policies, make a big difference. So yeah, we're really proud of that.
Yeah, excellent. So how much adjustment is there year to year?
The one thing that Mr. Lacey has really pushed us to do each and every year is never be satisfied, never feel like you've arrived and you've done all there is to do. As you look at the dynamics of how the world is changing, what's right for your program or your business this year, it might change a little bit from year to year. And so Mr. Lacey has really pushed us to continue to add value for our employees, for our families. And, one example of that, we hired 4 full-time wellness coaches that just started working at Meredith in January. They're contract employees through our vendors that do the wellness coaching program. We don't have employees coaching other employees or anything like that, but that represented really a significant investment from the company and our people.
Yeah. And tell us more about that. How the coaches come in, how often, what do they do, and all that?
Sure. So the wellness coaching has been a really important part of our wellness program. I think it's important to do things that promote physical activity, healthy eating, financial well-being, alleviating stress, those types of things. But it's also really important to provide resources for those that may have elevated health risks or chronic conditions such as diabetes. And so for us, we really wanted to provide more resources really to help those that have elevated health risks. We wanted to rely on third-party vendors, so that way no one at Meredith will have access to anyone's personal health information. Nobody at Meredith will be coaching other employees or family members at Meredith. So that was a really important part of it. But rather than just having everyone do more, we felt like we had really had a good, solid foundation for our wellness initiative, but we knew we wanted to provide more resources specific in that area.
Yeah. So is that how important was that to employees, the confidentiality aspect?
Yeah, confidentiality is extremely important, and we really tried to stress and reinforce that message from day one, even back in 2007 as we were just getting started. We wanted to reiterate really why the company thought that well-being was a priority. We wanted to talk about exactly who the vendors were that we were working with and kind of what their role was, and really who would have access to what and who wouldn't have access to what. And it was really reassuring for employees to know that confidentiality was of utmost importance, that no individual health information would ever be shared with the company or the insurance provider, those type of things. So that's been really, I think, one of the foundations for our success from day one, is gaining the trust of the employees, starting with my all-employee meeting tour and introducing myself and talking about the program, reinforcing the vendors that were our partners and the confidentiality. That was real critical to the success right out of the gate.
Yeah. So let's turn that around. So if once they get better, they get like, discounts and stuff like that. So what are your thoughts on a situation where employees are all concerned about their diabetes getting out or something, somebody knowing that, but what if there's a system where it's like, well, hey, you don't need to worry about the penalty because here, if you get better, here's the good thing that happens type thing.
Yeah, the one thing that we've really tried to stress from day one, our program is strictly about participation. We feel like if we can simply have employees and their family members get involved rather than feeling like they have to be involved, that's really a critical part to the success. And so we've really tried to put positive incentives in place for those that participate. They will have access to our best medical plans, to our lowest medical rates, which are really important. And a lot of employees have really said, this is a great benefit. For those that were there before we started the wellness initiative, said it's fundamentally changed the culture, which is great. So for us, it's really been important to have that trust from day one and make sure that we're really clear in what our objectives are and what we hope to gain from the employees from the program, and really let them know, what's in it for them. So that's been an important selling point.
Yeah. So how do you involve families? With these incentives, that's kind of one way to make it more attractive. And
Sure.
How does that work?
Yeah, it's very important for us to involve family members for a number of reasons. I think if you're trying to eat healthier, for example, it's a lot easier to go home at night when your family members are trying to eat healthier also. It kind of reinforces those positive habits. Or maybe if you and your spouse or domestic partner are both trying to quit smoking, for example, that can be another real positive selling point. We do the Live Healthy Iowa program each year in January. We've created kind of our own version we call Live Healthy Meredith, and it's offered to all of our employees and family members across the country. We do an 8-week version of the challenge starting the 3rd week in January, so we actually finish 1 week from today on March 11th. And so by having team-based, fun, family-oriented challenges, it gives those folks a lot of opportunities to get involved. And we really think it helps support the employee in their efforts to be successful. And we've also seen a number of spouses or domestic partners say, this is great. I've been trying to get my spouse, your employee, to go to the doctor for years. So now that we both have an incentive to do that, we're actually helping the spouse at home do their job too. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah. Tell us a couple of your favorite stories from that.
It's been interesting. We receive a lot of unsolicited stories, whether they, reach out to me personally with an email or a phone call or stop by my office. I was working one day, it was a couple years ago, and had a gentleman stop in. And he pulled up his shirt sleeve and showed me his wrist. And I wasn't quite sure where he was going, but he said that, he had just had an angioplasty surgery, I think a week or so ago. And he had said that with the preventative exams portion of the program, he's a tall guy. He's not overweight. He had no family history or no risk factors, but he had went in to the doctor for a preventative exam that was, something that was encouraged as part of our health initiative. And they found out that he had, a 90% blockage in, one of the arteries in his heart. And he said, has it not been for this program, he's like, I don't know if I'd be standing here today. And he was very, very sincere and said, this is really a wonderful thing that you're doing. We've had another employee who said, I wish this would have been in place a long time ago. Had it been in place, my spouse may still be here with us today. So, you get those kind of stories unsolicited from time to time. And it's usually when you least expect it, but it really puts it into perspective, what you're doing really matters and really makes a difference. So, it's been very rewarding to see those kind of things over the years.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. It's amazing. I think your program is relationally based. So it's like you're doing those kinds of things, and it works with how people work.
Sure. Sure.
So that it's really admirable from that perspective. One thing that I wanted to pick up on is, when you tell those stories, actually people really connect with that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of new books out that I shared with you with the Healthy Fat, Dr. Hyman and Dr. Ludwig from Harvard, and they include testimony. I mean, literally like dozens of testimonies in there.
That's great.
Because they've seen thousands of patients, and you see thousands of people at your different locations there.
Yeah.
So, is it okay if I ask you throughout our interview to share a few more stories and things like that?
Love to share stories. Love to share lessons learned. We definitely don't know everything, but are glad to tap into our experience, and it's been a lot of fun to kind of learn and grow, and that's what I say to a lot of our employees and our vendors as well. Anytime you're pioneering something, you're out in front, you're doing things that maybe haven't been done that way before. There's some growing pains that come with that, and to be able to have vendors and partners that hang in there with you, that are willing to try new things, that are willing to get outside their traditional box, that's been very valuable. So glad to share stories and lessons learned as we go. You bet.
Yeah. So what do you think are other keys? You've already shared some, but give us a couple more keys to participation rates.
I think that it's really important. We talked a little bit at the beginning, Ted, about having the right policies, and programs to support your strategy, which I think is really, really important. We want to make sure that we provide the right resources so that our vendors, as well as our employees and their families, are likely to be successful. And so that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed about my personal time working at Meredith. The company does a good job at putting you in a situation where you're likely to be successful because you have the support that you need and the resources you need to be able to do your very best. And, they're not going to put you in situations where you don't have the support. And so I've really tried to do that a lot, both with our staff as well as our program participants and our vendors. So I think that's important to have the right setup and the infrastructure to be able to do that.
Sure. What makes the employees it's 97%, right?
Yes, 97%. You bet.
Yeah. What makes them want to come? We know about the family thing. Are there other things too? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the incentive structure is an enormous part of it. We talked a little bit about the leadership support. I think that's the big foundation to have the champions of that message. But it's also important to have the right incentives. And, when we first started back in 2007, we offered, a $300 discount on your medical plan contributions, your premiums, by completing a wellness screening. And, we had 85 or so % of employees complete the wellness screening. And a couple years later, we increased that amount to $500 as a discount on your medical plan contributions. But you had to then also complete some additional campaigns and things throughout the year. So whatever you're incenting your population to do, chances are you're going to be able to get that type of output from your incentive. But for us, we knew that we needed to incent getting involved in the program throughout the year because we had great participation in the wellness screening. But until we incented participation throughout the year, we kind of were just collecting measurements on an annual basis, and but we weren't really getting the participation in the year-round initiative. So for us, having that incentive in place and growing that over time was a real important part of our program. In 2012, we really fundamentally changed our strategy. We had seen about 92% participation for the discount on the medical plan contributions. And the other 8%, really weren't interested. And so we kind of had the conversation, well, what do we do about that? How do we go after that 8%? And so in 2012, we switched to more of a disincentive strategy versus an incentive strategy. The studies will show people are more likely to get involved to avoid having something taken away than they are to actually get an incentive out of doing it. And so in 2012, we said you need to do your wellness screening in order to have access to our best medical plans and the lowest contribution rates the following year in 2013. If you don't, there's only going to be one medical plan available with a higher deductible to it. And so that's what really got us from 92 to 97% is having a little more strong strategy in place.
That's awesome. Yeah, so we're up to our first break here. Again, we have Tim O'Neill with us from Meredith Corporation, and he is the Director of Workplace Wellness there. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah!
If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hi, welcome back to Jet Radio. I'm Ted Char, your host, and Tim O'Neill is with us today. He is the Wellness Director at Meredith Corporation. Tim, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Ted.
Hey, so we left off with the story about getting that other 8%. So once a little arm twisting occurred, and you know, most of those are on board now. How do they feel about it now that they're participating?
You know, for us, as I mentioned from the very beginning, we've wanted to make sure that we do the wellness program with our employees and for our employees and their families. You never, ever want to do it at them. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind as you're developing programs and strategies. And so because we've always done it for our employees and with our employees, it's been very, very well received. Culturally, it's fundamentally changed the culture here in Des Moines. Employees will grab gym bags over lunch. They'll go for a run at Grays Lake together, or get outside and do cycling, or take a boot camp class. We offer over 200 fitness classes a month for our employees at no cost to them here in Des Moines, which is great. So, because we've done the program for employees as a benefit to them, because we care about them and their health and well-being, we haven't done it at them. It's been very, very well received.
Yeah. So the disincentive was not received as coming at them.
I think for the 92% of employees that were already participating, I guess, for them, they were already participating in the program. We really, it wasn't a disincentive for them at all, because they were already doing the program. But we really wanted to provide a meaningful incentive or disincentive, depending on how you look at it, for the other 8% to get involved. And we really wanted to, provide meaningful tools and resources, to really inspire employees and their family members to take charge of their personal health and well-being. And I think that was really a key takeaway and a fundamental shift in our program is, providing the resources and the teeth in your incentives necessary to prompt and facilitate the type of change you're looking for. So for us, once employees and family members have gotten involved in the wellness initiative, they don't have to do everything. They can kind of pick and choose. We want to have the right program for the right person at the right time. And so that's why we do so many different things. You don't have to do everything. You can kind of pick and choose what's of greatest value to you. And so I think that's why it's been so well received, because there's many opportunities to get involved, and employees see it as a real benefit to working at Meredith and one of the best parts of our culture. So getting back to not doing it at them, but doing it for them has really been critical to our success.
Yeah. Can you tell us a story about from one of those 8%?
Sure, I'd be glad to. When we first put the disincentive in place, if you will, I actually had 3 ladies come up to me, and they weren't very happy. They had to complete a tobacco cessation course as part of the wellness program, and they, said that wasn't fair, and that they, really didn't want to get involved, and it wasn't the company's business, and they had voluntarily said they were tobacco users on their health risk assessment, and as part of the wellness program would complete a tobacco cessation course. They didn't have to quit tobacco. They just had to learn more about the benefits of quitting as part of the wellness initiative. And so the 3 of them entered this tobacco cessation program, kind of begrudgingly. And by gosh, 6 months later, I remembered the talk with them. They had kind of cornered me and weren't too happy about it at the beginning. But one of them came back to me and said, "You know what? That was the best thing that the company's, done to support me. I've always wanted to quit tobacco. I just never thought that I could. But because of the wellness program and the incentive structure, it encouraged me to get involved when I wasn't sure that I really could quit. And the program that you have is wonderful. My health coach is wonderful. And by gosh, all 3 of them had quit tobacco 6 months later after they cornered me and weren't too happy that they had to do it. Then 6 months later, they're saying, you know what, this is a pretty good thing. How can we help encourage other people to get involved? So things like that, sometimes you end up somewhere doing something. Maybe that's not how you plan to start your day, but you kind of end up there, and it turns out to be better than what you ever could imagine. So I look at, the wellness initiative along similar lines.
Yeah, no, it's great. So, not a small number of people think that they won't be able to quit. So 90% of people that try to lose weight through a low-fat, high-carb diet can't do it because we're working against our own metabolism. Tobacco,
Sure.
It's, addictive. People think they can't quit.
Yeah.
So, what type of connection do you make to recovery programs? Like Celebrate Recovery or other recovery-based programs. What are your thoughts?
For us, I think it's really important to make sure employees know that we've got the right program when the time's right for them to make a lifestyle change, whatever that might be. I think we've got a lot of great tools and resources to help individuals understand areas of strength as well as opportunities for improvement. One of the things I think we do particularly well is each person that completes the wellness program gets a personalized scorecard, if you will, on an annual basis to let them know where they're doing well and what their opportunities for improvement are. The company never sees that information on an individual basis, but we do get an aggregate report. So we might know that 50% of employees have elevated blood pressure, for example, but no names are with that. But it allows a guy like me to really guide our strategy. And so we try to tap into not only the programs of our vendors, we create a lot of our own programs as well. But it's hard to be the best at everything. And so we certainly know, when to refer employees to appropriate resources as necessary. The Employee Assistance Program, in terms of recovery or things, is really a great resource that a lot of companies offer. And, for someone that's looking for assistance, that's a great free resource. It's tied into our benefit plans. So that way they're making sure that they can get as much covered by the medical plan as possible. So for us, we really tap into a variety of different resources. This also is important getting back to the wellness committees because they oftentimes know of a lot of great local resources. So for example, we provide tobacco quit aids, whether that be gum or patches, those type of things as a covered benefit under our medical plan. I had an employee from Kansas City who said their spouse was not covered by our medical plan. Did we have any other ideas on how they could get a hold of those quit aids? We're able to set them up with a local quit line and some local resources in the state of Kansas that could help them out. So understanding your resources is a big part of that.
No, that's excellent. So that's really good news because it's like people poo-poo non-physical health.
Sure.
And actually I'm an example of someone whose non-physical health brought down his physical health. I was always in sports and stuff like that, went through an identity crisis and really, was on some meds that messed up my cholesterol and really my non-physical health was bringing down my physical health.
Sure.
So what, you've seen the numbers. So, you can actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but please enlighten us. Do you not see the numbers collectively in terms of the benefits of non-physical health programs?
Yeah, definitely. Well-being is so much more than running a 5K or eating your fruits and vegetables, and so, those are kind of recognized signs of physical health, but certainly mental and emotional well-being, good spiritual health, financial wellness is a big part of that as well. In 2010, Steve Lacy, our chairman and CEO, came to me. As you recall, the markets were not doing well. It was a very difficult time for this country economically. And Mr. Lacy said, we really need to provide even more resources to help employees and families with personal finances. And so, because of that non-physical stress that it was causing from the finances, it was impacting physical health. And Mr. Lacy knew that the company could do even more to help employees in that area. So, yeah, that's just one example of a program that spun out of that.
Yeah. Could you tell us, said there were different options. So what, kind of give us a survey of the different options of the non-physical health programs.
Sure. For us, we think it's really important to give back to your community. At Meredith, to the Meredith family, Rebuilding Together is a huge initiative that we launch across several locations, including Des Moines. So volunteering, I think, is a big part of it. Meredith has a diversity committee. We have lots of community initiatives in which we encourage employees and their family members to get involved. The variety, the children's charity telethon is this weekend. Meredith, watch for us on Channel 5 from noon to 1 on Sunday. We'll be volunteering to raise money for that organization as well. So giving back and volunteering your time and your talents and your efforts is just one part of that. We do a lot of work through the United Way, whether that be visiting homes, donating time, reading to underprivileged kids. So volunteering your time, I think, is a big part of that. We talked about financial well-being. Even things such as, mindfulness is a real important thing, that I think has really been embraced well at Meredith Corporation. We offer mindfulness classes every day.
What is a mindfulness class?
So mindfulness, you're talking to the wrong guy in terms of who's the expert here, but my understanding of mindfulness really is being able to understand the surroundings that are by you and being present in the moment and being able to tune out a lot of the noise that's maybe going on around you that's causing you to feel stressed out or to lose your focus. We found that our regular exercise classes were competing with our mindfulness classes because people wanted to get their sweat on over lunch. And so they were skipping kind of the mindfulness because they wanted to do the body pump, the boot camp. So what we did is we started offering mindfulness, meditation, relaxation from 2:30 to 2:50 in the afternoon every single day. You don't even have to change clothes. Just take off your shoes. We've got great instructors, and participation has been outstanding because they can do a fitness class over lunch. They can take a little 20-minute break mid-afternoon to avoid that slump. So the mindfulness has been very well received.
Yeah. No, that's huge. The whole being in the moment thing and distraction is a huge stress inducer.
Yeah, it definitely is. There's lots of distractions in our lives. When's the last time we've gone without checking our phone, for example, or, people trying to instant message us or reach out to us. There's a lot of different stressors, traffic. So anytime you can focus and be present in the moment, it's really key.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I know quite a bit of that from personal experience.
It's great.
So how specific are the numbers? So, I know you guys have had a 4-to-1 return, from the Wellcoa report on your investment in workplace wellness. But in terms of being able to dial it down to, like these specific vendor programs, the mindfulness program, things like that. Sure. Do you have numbers on that?
One of the things that I'm fortunate, we look at participation and engagement as someone casting their vote for a program that they like. And so we look at a lot of our engagement numbers to really see what types of initiatives are being most well received. We don't really look at the return on the dollar spent for every individual program. Sometimes I think the improvement in health over time actually comes from participating in many different programs, and it's hard to attribute health improvement to just a single one. So what we do look at, first and foremost, we do the program, as I mentioned, for employees and their families with the goal to help them live longer, happier, healthier lives, leading to an enjoyable retirement. In terms of the business case, if you have a CEO or CFO or a vice president listening, for us, before we started the Wellness Initiative in 2007, Meredith was seeing between 15 and 20% annual increases in our medical spend each and every year. And, we spend about $25 million a year providing health insurance for our employees and their families. And that was a trend that simply wasn't sustainable. And, we could, do cost shifting and do plan design changes. But if we didn't get at the root cause of what was driving the cost, we were just passing money around. We really weren't getting at the root cause that would fundamentally alter or bend that curve. So since 2008, it took a couple years, but Meredith has only seen between a 1% and a 3% annual increase in the annual costs compared to these 15 to 20% increases. And for us, we feel like we fundamentally improved health along the way. You know, in 2007, across the organization, we had 72% of our workforce in the healthy category. We're now in the 85 to 86% range. And not to mention, it's really been a fun part of the culture. This is a reason why employees look forward to coming to work, to take that fitness class with their colleagues, or to go on a walk over lunch, or participate in a challenge together. So, for us, there definitely is a business case, but we don't spend much time talking about the business case. You know, we're a publicly traded company. We have a board of directors. We have shareholders. And so clearly, we need to make sure that we're using our resources wisely. But we don't talk a lot about the return of the investment on the program. We know that it's made the kind of medical plan impact to more than offset the money that we've spent on the program. But more importantly, is we've probably saved a life or two in the process. And we've provided a really fun way to create another positive reason why employees enjoy coming to work every day.
Yeah. We are up to our next break here. Again, we have Tim O'Neill with us on Jet Radio, and he is the Director of Workplace Wellness at Meredith. We'll be back in about a minute.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
Hi, welcome back to Jet Radio. I'm Ted Shire, your host, and Tim O'Neill from Meredith is with us today. Tim, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Ted.
And he is the wellness director there, and we're talking about how workplace wellness benefits not only the employees, but the employer as well.
You bet.
So, just getting at that, the return on investment and all that sort of thing, it's like, why not make the business case. You're right. It doesn't. It's kind of one of those fringe benefit things. You do the right thing first by, saving the lives, improving quality of life, and that sort of automatically brings the business case along with it. But if a business doesn't realize the huge cost savings that they can occur just through people getting healthier, then that's something that shouldn't be missed. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, from day one, I've known that, we really need to measure the impact of what we're doing. What I don't want to do is have 5 years go by and have everyone say that they had a great time, but really not have anything tangible to show for it. And so from day one, when we go to launch an initiative, we really look at, what problem or opportunity are we solving for by creating this program? And based on that, what resources are going to be required to do the initiative? And what does success look like? When we're done with this, how are we going to know it was successful? How are we going to measure that? And what's that mean to the participants? What's that mean to the business? So we really go through that process long before we launch an initiative. And that way we know really what we're solving for and kind of what we're aiming for. And I think when you can do that, it makes a huge difference. So beyond just the return, the dollar return on your investment, when you can show an improvement in, attitudes and beliefs, when you can show better family relationships, when you can show lower financial stress, when you can show more employees and family members are getting regular physical activity, that when you're starting to see those type of metrics and those improvements, you can't help but be successful.
Sure. I've looked at some, Jet focuses on diabetes, and so I've looked at diabetes numbers, and one of the things in terms of the ranges always help. It's like on the low end it's this, on the high end it's this, but I've seen numbers from around $1,500 per year cost of diabetes. On the extreme end, people are very sick.
Yep.
And so you get into heart operations and all the associated conditions, and then you're looking at more like $35,000 a year, and actually that would be low if someone has bypass and all that sort of thing. But
sure.
Have you looked at specific numbers in terms of cost for specific diseases?
What we look at, Ted, is metabolic risk factors. And so, if you have HDL cholesterol, glucose, triglycerides, a waist measurement over a certain amount. So we look at the metabolic risk factors, the blood pressure, for example. And for an employee who has 3 or more of the 5 metabolic risk factors, they average about 30% higher annual claims than someone who is in the healthy category. And why that represents only about $1,000 in claims per person per year. When you have 1,000 people at your workplace that have elevated health risk, that's $1 million opportunity. And so for us, we don't look at specifics for if you're a diabetic, it's this. A lot of folks have comorbidities, and so they're going to be in several different categories when they get to that point. But if you look at the difference in cost among an employee who is in the healthy category compared to the elevated risk category, there is about $1,000 difference. And then if you look at someone who is in the elevated risk category compared to the person that doesn't participate in the program at all, but does take health coverage through Meredith, that's another 1.5 to 2 times the cost. So, when you look at someone who is a healthy employee averaging, $2,100 in claims per year, compared to someone who doesn't participate in the program at all and they're at $5,200 in claims, there is a big difference. And so for us, the goal really is, 1, let's drive as much participation as what we can through the things that we've talked about. But then 2, once someone's engaged, let's make sure that we have the right programs and resources in place to help them reduce that health risk. And make no mistakes, from a confidentiality standpoint, we partner with our vendors so that we never know which employees are in what category or anything like that. But it's important to have a well thought out and deliberate plan in place to address that.
No, that's it's really great that there's a strong emphasis on prevention. But what do you do when you get a case where there is a surgery, a major surgery as a result of chronic health issues?
One of the things that we do is we partner with our medical plan administrator, UMR, and they've got a care management and case management program in place. So in the case of a surgery, for example, UMR will be able to work with that person individually. They can help coordinate the care and the recovery for that person. They can help them get discharged and back home and back to their life as soon as possible. They can make sure that they can get the correct billing that goes with the surgery and everything that went with that. Meredith also has a program called Compass Professional Health Services, and Compass can act as an advocate on behalf of our employees and families. So Compass can help employees review bills, reconcile claims, also find providers based on cost and quality. So those are just two of the many resources in that instance where we found to be very, very beneficial.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on, so since there is such a strong prevention emphasis, what are your thoughts on the new healthy fat diets?
First of all, I'll say if there is a program that in a healthy way inspires somebody to change their lifestyle, I think we're for it. That being said, there's no quick fixes in life, and so we encourage moderation in activity and food intake. And the programs that we have for our employees and families encourage healthy lifestyle modification over time. So it's not 10 weeks to a new you. If that 10-week campaign inspires you to change some habits and you can keep that momentum going, that's great. But we're not really into a program in a box and taking it off the shelf and the one magic thing that's going to change your life. So in terms of fads, we don't discourage employees to do what works well for them. We just want them to do that in a healthy manner and make sure that they are thinking about the long term versus the short term.
Sure. Actually, I think these are long-term programs because we're talking about 40, 50 years, we've heard the fat is bad mantra, all calories are created equal, and it's been false. It was based on faulty research, and there wasn't a lot of funding for the nutritional studies, and the dogma was there, and so we ended up with a diabetic of obesity and diabetes, which started really taking off in the late 90s, and now it's like everyone knows, we can just look at almost 70% overweight now, and we can just look and see that low fat, high carb, which all of us have heard for so many years, that it doesn't work. And so rather than being a fad, these doctors have seen thousands and thousands of patients, and they just know what works in line with our metabolism because insulin is stimulated the most by carbohydrates, and fat actually stimulates the least. So actually, we need to give our bodies that healthy fat so that we're not giving ourselves these insulin spikes over time.
Yeah.
So
that's an important point, I think, for a lot of people to think about. There's not, one size fits all approach. I think it's really important to, receive personalized guidance and, build a program that's well suited to your metabolism and your lifestyle and your needs. For us at Meredith, we provide employees with $100 a year. And they can use that toward a group such as Weight Watchers or to get personalized meal planning assistance from a dietitian. And so for us, I think the more you can personalize it, the better. And for us, providing some sort of financial incentive to encourage employees to, get some meal assistance, for example, I think is really important.
Yeah. I love what you said earlier in terms of, we really can't it would be very difficult to pinpoint any one program since you have such a variety. And you know what? That's totally true. That's totally true because programs reinforce each other. And And with any one program, it's not the magic bullet, but it just moves people a step. It can offer all kinds of stuff, but it just moves people a step. And when they hear multiple different programs that are all reinforcing each other, and say, well, this must be right, But what are your thoughts on that? Just how the different programs reinforce each other.
I think that you're absolutely right, Ted. If there's one program that worked for everybody, we'd all be doing it, and we wouldn't have a problem. And so I think that it's important for employees and family members to understand. There are lots of options. And it's important to, think about the right time of their life to try and make, a behavior change, and to find the programs and tools and resources that can support that. For us, as we talk about sustainability, a 10-week fad diet, if it's too extreme and not sustainable, it's not going to lead to long-term success. And so I think it's really important that for us, we can reinforce a culture at Meredith that supports healthy living, whether that be food choices in the cafeteria or catering at meetings, or healthy choices in vending machines, or facilitating regular physical activity through group exercise, company walks, campaigns. So for us, we want to reinforce the message with lots of different things, with a supportive culture on an ongoing basis. But you're absolutely right. I think these programs have to work in conjunction with one another, and you have to have a regular and consistent message that fosters and inspires healthy living.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, 97% implementation or participation. How can you spread that? To other companies, to other communities. Tell us more.
For us at Meredith, it was a commitment from senior leadership. Steve Lacey's done a lot of work in this community and in the state and nationally to talk about his message of healthy living, to talk to his peers and include them and encourage them to get their companies involved. Steve's mantra is, if you're able to do something, you should, and for him and his position, he's known that he's been able to do that, and he's wanted to do that to make a difference. And so I think, for all of us listening in here right now, what can you do? You don't have to be a chairman and CEO to make a difference in your community, but I think to look at, what are the opportunities, what talents and skills and interests do you have to give back? And, when it comes to 97%, have the leadership support, have the right incentives in place. Don't do it at people, do it for people. And I think if you can create fun and motivating and inspiring, engaging challenges that group employees and family members together so they have that support, those are all keys to success.
Yeah. How do you get your employees thinking about making a difference?
I think we reinforce that a lot, Ted, with just the culture that we have. We provide opportunities for employees to get involved in the community throughout the year. I mentioned the Variety Telethon this weekend. Certainly the work that we do with United Way and Rebuilding Together. Employees and family members can earn credit toward the year-round Meredith Wellness Program by volunteering 4 or more hours of their time. Meredith has a matching gifts program as well as a volunteer grant program, which can reimburse and financially support organizations of an employee's choosing. So I think by having a culture that cares and supports those things is really important.
Yeah. And what about sharing best practices? Tell us a little bit about that.
It's very important. I know for a fact we do not have it all figured out at Meredith Corporation. I think we've learned a ton from our peers, and it's much easier to take best practices and implement those versus trying to forge new ground. I think at Meredith we understand that it's important to do a little bit of both. But certainly networking, connecting with other community leaders, seeing what is working and maybe what's not working, and just sharing ideas. I think it really helps a lot. And that's why I appreciate the opportunity to be here today, share some of our best practices. And anytime I collaborate with others, it teaches me a lot about our program and things we could do as well.
Yeah. So do you meet with community, you've got the different branches around the country. Do you meet with those community leaders when you go to those places?
Yeah, the nice thing is, we're in so many different locations, and one of the business units for Meredith is television stations. Being a media marketing company, we own 17 TV stations. And a lot of the TV stations will do initiatives to give back to their community, whether that be, fundraising or other community events. So I think it's very important, these TV news anchors that we have at some of our different locations are very recognized. And so anytime they can throw their support behind a cause in the community, it makes a huge difference. So, we've seen that in tons of the markets that we operate in addition to Des Moines.
That's awesome. Hey, keep spreading the word. And so glad you could join us today. It's one of the top ways you can make a difference in the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right. So again, with us today was Tim O'Neill. He is the Director of Workplace Wellness at Meredith Corporation. And spread the message that Tim has taught us today and make a difference in your community. Thanks for joining us.